Hi friends, I hope you're having a fantastic weekend and that you're able to spend some time outside having fun in the summer. And so here in our area of Colorado, the air quality is a little bit better today, even though it's been really hot, and windy, which is really bad for the fires. Right here where we are, it feels a little bit better. And before I share with you some primary fires that are really affecting the air quality, just, kind of the human cost. So on Thursday, for example, it was a really weird, very terrible air quality day. We had like tons of alerts, on our computers. Thankfully, phones and computers can light up instead of us having to seek out that information like in the 80s and 90s or whatever. And so just terrible air quality. My eyes were burning. I couldn't put on any makeup. I tried to read. I was reading articles online. I was trying to read a book, and I just couldn't do it because my eyes were so irritated, and they're sensitive already. And then with the air like it is, I had to quit trying to read because it was such a strain. When your eyes are irritated, it can cause headaches. And I just put a cold, wet cloth on my eyes and just, rested because I could not do what I wanted to do. It was too irritating. And normally here where we are, there's tons of walking paths everywhere. There's parks, and so there's always children out playing, which is really fun. And they're on bikes, they're on skateboards, they're, you know, playing ball and stuff. And they're just not out doing that right now. They're not out riding their bikes and having lots of people that run. There's so much of that, lots of runners. And we're not really seeing that just because it's just so hard to be outside and have, your breathing and your eyes and whatnot feel comfortable. And so the Aspen Acres fire, which is west of Pueblo, Colorado, is getting more under control. It's still, they have a good containment line. It's now 61% contained on the eastern side, which it was burning toward the town of Pueblo, the city of Pueblo, and the little towns that are, on the east side of the wet mountains where the fire started in those mountains, and then it's kind of burned eastward. And they've done a really good job at containment on that east side, and there have been lots of people, homes and other structures that have been destroyed, and that is horrible. The firefighters are doing a fantastic job. And so as of this morning, Saturday morning, at 61% contained, and that's up from 48% contained on Friday. So that is excellent progress, and more than 1,600 firefighters have been assigned to that area, and they are making progress. And so then we have the Gold Mountain Fire, which is in the southwestern, kind of central southwestern part of Colorado near Ouray, which is a small town. And that fire has an estimated burn of about 38,000 acres, and it's about 13% contained. And in that area, the fires on the mountaintops they're just kind of raging because you can't physically get up there. Fire trucks can't really get up there, and so that has to be fought from above, and that's just really difficult. And there's when the landscape is burned clear, rocks could fall, trees that are loosened up could roll downhill on fire and let boulders fall. Tree roots and rocks and earth, they all work together to hold up the soil, and that is just a disaster for firefighters. And so they've learned that, fortunately, and can stay out of the way of that, but that also means the fire's going to burn more. And then the Ferris fire, which is even more remote in the southwestern part of Colorado, is it's going for about 65,000 acres, and it's about 71% contained, which is really great. There's a valley on one side, and so they're really able to fight from that area, and it's not quite as high of elevation as in the Ouray area. And then the Willow Fire burning near Leadville. And Leadville's a very high elevation town, one of the highest in our country. It's over 10,000 feet elevation. And this fire has burned about 7,000 acres and is about 37% contained. And that doesn't sound like a lot of acreage, but it's very high elevation, and these areas can have a lot of unpredictable winds. The higher elevation you get, the more unpredictable the winds are, and most places in our whole country are not that high elevation. There is not that high elevation in most states, in most places, and so that makes it really vulnerable to lightning and wind. And so, but they did get some rain, and the Ferris fire got some rain, and so that was really helpful to help create some more containment. And then in Utah, the Babylon fire is 93% contained, also a very remote part of Utah, southeastern Utah, excuse me. It has burned over 107,000 acres. It is 93% contained, like I said, which is so great, but it is really producing a lot of smoke, and all these fires are. And then of course we have the smoke in Canada that doesn't appear to be directly affecting us here because of the jet stream, because of the wind direction, but it is blanketing the Midwest of the US, through the Great Lakes, through the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. And so take care of yourself. If you have asthma, if you're older, if you have littles, just stay inside and do something fun inside. I just think it's awful of how these fires from climate change, we're just kind of, at this point, we're kind of having to be at peace with them. That's going to be without some major climate change intervention. We're just going to have to tolerate this. And so political policy is very important to make these changes, to make sure we have enough money and firefighters to fight these policy changes, to protect our environment from these fires, from climate change. And so I love you very much, and I hope that you're having a great weekend. Big hugs. I love you. Talk soon.